Hello, this is James Robert Deal. Today is July the 30th, 2017, and this is my blog broadcast, J.R. Deal News, news spelled with a Z at the end. I'm running for City Council of the great city of Linwood. The election becomes final on August 1st. We'll see how many citizens of this fair city wake up and pay attention to the important issues that I outline. So that song is Bach's Minuet in G, played by yours truly. It's the practice of law and my work as a real estate broker that pays the bills, but it's music that makes life enjoyable. Today the topic is that our federal and state agencies have been taken over by the industries that they regulate. The way I see it, most people are either naive Democrats, naive Republicans, or naive independents. They seem to trust their government, that what their government approves and disapproves is correct, and that there's a good reason why we do what we do. For example, why do we put toxic waste in our drinking water? Why is it that our buses drive around mostly empty most of the time? Why is it that by age 18 we poke our children 70 times with 16 different vaccines which have never been proven through double-blind tests to be safe or effective? And why does the CDC ignore the vaccines that are effective? Probably because they've been developed by homeopathic physicians, and regular MDs just don't trust any type of physician other than their own. Maybe because they've been developed in Cuba by communists. I'd like to direct you to a new website page that I've just posted, jamesrobertdeal.org/agencies taken over by industries they regulate. The method whereby industries take over an agency is that the industries make big campaign contributions to senators and representatives, legislators on the state level too, to get their people installed as leaders of the agency. And all of our agencies, both on the federal and state level, have political parties within them. Not necessarily Democratic or Republican, but pro-industry and pro-consumer. This is what's called regulatory capture. So if you go to jamesrobertdeal.org/industries taken over by industries, agencies taken over by industries they regulate. There's a dash between each word. So a current example is the 5G rollout. Now 5G is thought of by most people as just the next stage in the advancement of cell phone technology. We had 2G, which could do text messaging, and then we had 3G, which had an awkward form of internet access. 4G works pretty well to access the internet and perform all the features we would perform on a home computer, except that there's no keyboard. And people think 5G is going to be just an improvement, but it's not just an improvement. It is the use of extremely high frequency, extremely short wavelength radio waves. The higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength, the more penetrating microwaves are. So if you read the link here, you'll find out that the hearings on 5G have ignored those who object on health grounds to this new technology. 5G is going to be a broadcaster every 10 houses, blanketing entire neighborhoods with high frequency microwave radiation. A lot of people are downright sensitive, hypersensitive to microwave radiation. The disclosure that you get when you buy a cell phone says keep that cell phone an inch away from your head. And we know that cancer has been the result of people who stick their cell phone in their bra or hold it up to their head constantly. They have cancers in the place where they held it up to their head. We know that smart meters are coming, and that the Department of Energy has been promoting this and paying money to local utilities to implement it, both for electric, gas, and water utilities. Now, it's the electric communication that's the one that's most concerning, because it's also a security hole. The way that the smart meters will connect and report their data is through a peer-to-peer cell phone technology that beams the messages, the reports on your electrical usage from house to house. So it's an entire network of sharing of information on the use of electricity in your home when an appliance is turned on or off. Then the utilities will be able to sell this information to marketers who, for some reason, want to know exactly what time we wake up, turn on the stove, what time we leave, what time we get home, what time we turn on our computer. Some use apparently can be made of this for marketing purposes, but it's an intrusion into our private lives. And when we buy a home, we are subject to a utility easement, but that's an easement to deliver electricity or water or gas to us, not our consent to be monitored and for our usage to be reported back to the utility through microwave radiation. Nevertheless, the City of Seattle has jumped on board with this and approved it 9-0. Even the socialist member of the Seattle City Council climbed on board. There were numerous meetings, and people who pointed out the problems with smart meters were pretty much ignored. So it's going ahead full steam, and it's going to come to Snohomish County through Snohomish PUD within the next 3 to 4 years. And this is something you ought to stand up against, because you're going to be subject to irradiation every 5 seconds. Allegedly, the purpose of this is so the meter reader won't have to come out and read your meter. But that begs the next question: why doesn't the broadcast occur only once every month instead of every 5 seconds? This is going to raise your electric bill because your meter is going to be busy broadcasting your usage and receiving signals from neighboring smart meters and constantly working to receive and transmit information on your private usage. Another example is the fact that the CDC has colluded with Coca-Cola to salvage the soda market, especially sodas that contain sugar. And recent reports have shown that the CDC has worked closely with Coca-Cola executives to influence the World Health Organization to relax their recommendation on security limits, on sugar consumption limits. Then we know that the EPA has ignored the World Health Organization in its declaration that Roundup is a type 2A carcinogen. The way that Roundup is harmful is that it kills a certain bacteria in the digestive system. This is true in insects, animals, fish, and humans. So if you're eating foods with high fructose corn syrup, which is made from GMO corn, or any product containing GMO cottonseed oil, or non-organic bread, because wheat, even if it's not GMO, is sprayed with Roundup. That's done to kill the wheat all at the same time, so it can all be harvested at the same time and be in the same stage of ripeness. France has banned Roundup. Roundup contains glyphosate, and generally when people refer to the harmful nature of Roundup, they talk about glyphosate. But glyphosate is only one of the ingredients in Roundup. Roundup also contains aluminum, which is an adjuvant, which riles up the immune system, provokes an immune reaction. And looking at the same page, agencies taken over, jamesrobertdeal.org/agencies taken over by industries they regulate. Another example I give is the action of the Egg Board, which is designed mostly to help the big egg producers and has damaged the business of the small egg producers. The FCC, Federal Communications Commission, is another captured agency. It's dominated by the industries it regulates. Have you ever wondered who really runs Washington? Have you ever had the sense that the agencies that are supposed to regulate the industries actually report to it, listen to it, do what the industries want to do? So follow the link to read a fascinating account how corporate technology interests have won inordinate access and power over major regulatory agencies. Another example is how Big Pharma bribes doctors to sell drugs, and the FDA allows this to go on. According to ProPublica, a family doctor in California earned $43 million promoting drugs for pharma. Another one in Scottsdale, Arizona received $28 million. Hospitals are awash in big pharma money. The Cleveland Clinic Foundation received $22 million. One of the doctors at Cleveland Clinic published an op-ed piece in the Cleveland Plain Dealer. He wasn't attacking vaccines generally. He was just attacking vaccines such as the flu vaccine, which actually contained mercury. So right away, this doctor got in big trouble with the Cleveland Clinic, and he had to publish a retraction. So pharma also pays doctors to conduct studies of the drugs and pays them for each of the studies, winning their loyalty because these doctors are then familiar with the drug after they've studied it and written about it, and they become regular supporters of a particular drug. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to share one of my songs with you.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven up above. Give us this day our daily bread, as we share with those in need. Forgive us our wrongs as we forgive others' wrongs, and may we not be tested, but if we are, may we survive the test. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
James Robert Deal, February 28th, 2017. This is James. The thing I like about that song is it's completely non denominational. I really am not pleased with all the other versions of the Our Father, so I decided to write one of my own. Back to the subject at hand. I'm running for city council. If you want to help me, forward emails to all your friends with this link, jamesrobertdeal.org/platform. I have a detailed platform of the things that we need to do to make Linwood a better place to live. And one is to stop spraying Roundup on the streets and on our parks and on our money-losing golf course, which uses 19 different chemicals. And if you read the labels on the chemicals, they say kills fish. So do we really want to help the salmon to recover? If so, why are we using all these toxic poisons? There are a few parks in Linwood which are not sprayed, and they look just fine to me. So if your children are going to sit on the grass, play in the grass, and your animals too, you should be concerned about this. But these are issues that my competitors just ignore. Another conflict of interest is that the CDC itself owns patents on vaccines, 20 different vaccines, which it then licenses to Merck and other big producers to produce the vaccines. Now, vaccines is not an issue that a city council person can do anything about, but it illustrates the point that our regulatory agencies have been taken over by the industries they're supposed to regulate. Instead, the CDC is in business with these agencies and hires people out of these agencies to be its executives, and then after they finish working for the CDC or the EPA, they go to work for Monsanto. Another good example that does relate to the city of Linwood is that the EPA ignores evidence that fluoride is harmful to health. So there is an anti-fluoride organization known as FAN, Fluoride Action Network. So FAN submitted voluminous information from many organizations, many toxicological studies showing that fluoride is a neurotoxin and that the EPA has the power and should exercise its power to ban fluoridation. So this petition was denied, and so now FAN is going to file a lawsuit against the EPA. Fortunately, the law allows citizens to challenge the EPA and to take them to court, and I do believe that FAN has actually filed a lawsuit, and there's a link to this on the page that I'm talking about, jamesrobertdeal.org/agencies taken over by industries they regulate. And I will continue to add to this page numerous examples of agencies that have been corrupted. Now, the story of fluoridation and its authorization is that it's never been authorized. It's never been declared safe and effective by the FDA. It hasn't been declared safe and effective by the EPA because the EPA really doesn't have jurisdiction to do that. The EPA could never approve it. Only the FDA can approve drugs to be safe and effective, and fluoride added to your water is added for the purpose of affecting your teeth and preventing decay, and that is fits within the definition of a drug. So the FDA is, like all other agencies, has different parties within it: the pro-consumer party and the pro-industry party. The pro-industry party is always in control, whether Republican or Democratic. The president always appoints someone who's pro-industry. If you want to be the Surgeon General, you got to be a cheerleader for fluoridation. So what the EPA did is it financed an organization, a trade association known as the National... Oh goodness, what is that? I just hate those pop-ups that start playing advertisements without my consent. Oh boy. So the National Sanitation Foundation, the NSF, had existed previously before the EPA hired it, and its main work was to test chemicals used to clean hot water heaters, because minerals build up on the heating coils and reduce the efficiency of your hot water heater. So the EPA financed NSF to go into the business of certifying fluoridation chemicals to be safe, and still finances it. The NSF rules declares that fluorosilicic acid and sodium fluoride are safe. It doesn't certify them to be effective, just safe. Now, the FDA would never do that. It would never authorize the sale of a drug that is only safe, because no drug is completely safe. All drugs have contraindications. But this is what NSF does. So NSF, coached by the EPA, went on a campaign to get all the states to pass regulations, and Washington is one of them. And Washington has a law that says fluoridation may occur only with chemicals which comply with NSF Rule 60. So, allegedly, fluoride complies because NSF has declared it safe. But if you look closely at the NSF rules, they say that the level of fluoride added to water can be no more than 10% of the maximum contaminant level. The maximum contaminant level is 4 parts per million, and 10% of that is 0.4 parts per million. We fluoridate at 0.7 parts per million. So on its face, the fluoridation materials do not comply with NSF law, and therefore it's illegal to fluoridate in the state of Washington and 47 other states. There's much more to say about this subject. The fact that our agencies have been taken over. The point that you need to get is that you should be open-minded to all things, but also skeptical of all things, especially when it comes from our government, and we know that money's involved in this. The people who want to fluoridate donate to congressmen. Congressmen appoint industry lackeys to head the agencies. And so we have fracking, and so we have fluoridation, and so we have Roundup being sprayed on the food we eat, making people sick, killing the salmon. It's very disappointing. And I'm sorry to say that we have an uphill battle facing us. Again, if you want to help me in my campaign, you can go to jamesrobertdeal.org/platform. There's a PDF link. You can print out my flyers, or you can just forward that link to your friends. I'm going to go out on another song I've written. Just completed recording it in June. Thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.
Follow your truth, she would say, wherever it leads you, and do not fear the truth you may find. I hope there is a God above. I pray there is no devil. I hope there is a heaven. I pray there is no hell. Some may be deserving of punishment infernal. May they be punished no more and no less. Some may be deserving of retirement in heaven. If I am so lucky, my hope is to play the big pipe organ. To play the big pipe organ. Greenland will melt, Antarctica too. Oceans will rise, our cities will be undersea attractions. A comet will fall into Atlantic, tsunami cross
North Pacific will overtop the coastal nukes. Plutonium catch fire and burn. Plutonium catch fire and burn. Once alight, those nukes will burn for 1,000 years. We will live underground, come out only in hazmat. The sun in solar maximum will send us a mass ejection. Electronics will be toasted and we will return to the 1800s. Life is a tragedy, said an ancient sage. A tragedy to those who feel, but a comedy to those who think. So I've thought about it often, about taking my own life. The thing that has kept me going is knowing I'll be dead soon enough. I was sitting by her side when my mother died at 90. Dying won't be so bad, she said. In heaven I can smoke if I want. Follow your truth, she would say, wherever it leads you. And do not fear the truth you may find. I hope there is a God above. I pray there is no devil. I hope there is a heaven. I pray there is no hell. I pray there is no hell. Unlikely, but such things have happened before. Unlikely things which have happened before will eventually happen again. People often ask me why my verses seldom rhyme. I never claim to be a poet, I'm only a drummer boy. I'm only a drummer boy. You say it's unlikely, but such things have happened before. Unlikely things which have happened before will eventually happen again. People often ask me why my verses rarely rhyme. I never claimed to be a poet, I'm only a drummer boy.